This is Ryan Abraham, Chris Trevino, USCFootball.com. Instant analysis here on a beautiful Friday morning. A little chilly here on the USC campus. The Trojans had their first bowl practice for the Cotton Bowl coming up January 2nd against Tulane. We had some players available. We weren't able to watch practice at all, but there's some newsy stuff coming out of this. We wanted to kind of give you a little instant analysis of what's going on. But Chris, the big news coming out of what we heard today, Shane Lee, the linebacker transfer from Alabama, said, I'm back. I'm waiting to make a decision later. He's like, I'm coming back.
Yeah, most players, when we asked them this morning, they were like, yeah, I still got to talk to my coaches, my family. We'll see what happens after the bowl game. Shane Lee, straight to the point, veteran he is. He's like, yep, I'm coming back for another season. The team captain, the leading tackler for this defense in the middle. And that's a big, huge return for the Trojans and this defense. You know, he is a guy who has helped build that culture and push that culture forward since he arrived on campus. And you can look up many quotes from Lincoln Riley and teammates about how important he has been for the culture building at this program with Lincoln Riley. So having him back for another year, huge off the field and for that locker room.
For sure. I mean, you talk about the transfer portal opening up a week or so ago. Getting a guy like Shane Lee to stay, that's another linebacker you probably don't need to go try to fish out of the transfer portal. So it's a big deal. I think, he said, he talked to players and coaches a little bit, but it's just more about your own personal decision. I think it seems like a lot of that if guys leave or guys stay. Another decision, it's more of a medical issue. Caleb Williams, who, I don't know if you saw this, but he won the Heisman Trophy recently. He had a press conference yesterday, and in that press conference he said he's feeling the hamstring's feeling a lot better. He expects to play, very confident he was going to play in this one. We got to see him out. We had to watch practice, but he was there at practice. He was at the USC women's basketball game last night, apparently jumping around and everything. So seems like things are on track for Caleb Williams to play in the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very brief statement from him yesterday when asked about it. He just said, hamstring's feeling good, it's getting there, and he feels confident that he will be able to play against Tulane in that Cotton Bowl. That's all we can say is that he was at practice, but right now, on track, to possibly being able to play. That's all we can really say.
For sure. And we got to get some reaction from the players because they were practicing out there on Howard Jones Field with a Heisman Trophy winner now. The last time USC had a Heisman Trophy winner on the practice field was 2005, right? So this is, when Matt Leinart was there, Reggie Bush and all that. Caleb Williams won the Heisman. And I asked Austin Jones about it. He was available to talk to the media. I'm like, what is it like? And he watched the ceremony. He loved it. Very happy. He was happy that the offensive linemen were able to come with him out there. And I was like, is practice a little different? He's like, yeah. It was like, the next time you take a handoff, it's going to be from a Heisman Trophy winner, and he seemed really excited about that. It's kind of real. It's like you expected him to win, but it was real. That here's a Heisman winner, and that's the guy that's like handing the ball. He hasn't made a decision yet on coming back or not, so we'll see if he's going to come back for another year at USC. The more interesting answer, that was a good interesting answer, but Shane Lee had a very interesting answer when talked about playing with a Heisman winner.
Yeah, Shane Lee didn't really care, and it's because he said, it's not different being out on the field with a Heisman winner because I've already played with two in wide receiver Devontae Smith and quarterback Bryce Young while he was at Alabama. So that was a pretty flex answer for him to say. He's like, no, I played with two others. This is my third Heisman winner, so I don't really care. He didn't say I didn't really care, but that was kind of the energy he was giving off, like, nope, no big deal. It's the same thing as always. But he was very happy for Caleb, very supportive of Caleb, and, awesome to have a Caleb Williams, a Heisman winner back at USC.
Yeah, he'd also loved the fact that Caleb brought the big men out there. He said he didn't need the linebackers to go next year if he makes it. But the other interesting aspect, I think our friend Antonio Morales asked this will be the third year in a row that Shane Lee's playing in Dallas for the Cotton Bowl. 2 years ago, it was the COVID Rose Bowl that they played in AT&T Stadium, and then last year, Alabama played in the Cotton Bowl. So 3 years in a row, he's going to be in Dallas, which he said he loves the city, but that's kind of an interesting phenomenon.
Just interesting thing. I hope he has some good food recs since he's been there so many times. He probably has a timeshare there, out there in Dallas.
Yeah. Speaking of New York, Justin Dedich was one of those offensive linemen that Caleb Williams did bring to New York, and he had a lot of interesting things to say about his first time in New York.
I actually want to hit on the newsier side for Justin Dedich, being obviously Brett Nealon, their All-American caliber center, was injured in the Utah game. He's out for the season, will not play. His Trojan career is over, and Justin Dedich started by talking about how great of a Trojan Brett Nealon is, but also confirmed that he will be taking over the center roles. If you're not familiar, Justin Dedich was highly rated center out of high school. That was his original position. Just had trouble getting on the field behind Brett Nealon, so they moved him to guard, and that's where he's been kind of standing out and shining. But his natural position is offensive center, and that's the position. If he wants to go to the NFL, that's where he has to play, and so he is taking over that mantle right now for Brett Nealon. Justin Dedich, a popular pick to maybe come back for next season, a team captain, and take over that center spot. As I just mentioned, his future at the NFL, if that's where he wants to do, is at center. That's where his size fits the best. So he said he hasn't really made a decision on that. Still has to talk with his coaches and his family and kind of think about it a little bit more. But for right now, that beginning process for him to potentially come back and play center has started. He will be the center for the Cotton Bowl and moving forward until, he makes his decision. But yeah, he was also very super excited to be able to go to New York. He said it was an incredible experience, and he was so thankful for Caleb to bring all his offensive linemen that blocked for him this season. It was a great time, his first time in New York. He did say LA is better than New York, especially when it comes to traffic. He was like, I thought LA traffic was bad, but it took us like 30 minutes to go half a mile in Times Square. It was brutal, but had a lot of great food. They were going crazy backstage when Caleb won. He said they probably hated us. We were making so much noise, but it was a great experience for him and the offensive lineman. He said he thinks Caleb is probably going to set the trend for quarterbacks bringing their offensive line to the thing. So maybe next year you'll see 4 units of offensive linemen back in Lincoln Center.
Yeah, he said all the offensive linemen ate 4 pieces of pizza at Joe's, I think, and then they went out for like a steak dinner afterwards. Crazy. I don't know. It's hard. Like the Heisman Trust is really tight about that stuff. So I think Caleb Williams had to pull some strings just to get those linemen there. But maybe they changed it. Maybe they changed it a little bit. Have a little section for the offensive linemen. That would be great. But he's a captain. Potentially could come back. Shane Lee, we know he's going to come back. Tuli Tuipulotu, Shane Lee said he wasn't going to try to talk to him about it coming back, but maybe he could come back as well. That would be huge. He was an All-American, and he was very proud of that fact.
Yeah, Tuli said he will make a decision after the bowl game. So, big news right there is that Tuli Tuipulotu is not appearing to sit out. He's going to play in this bowl game, possibly one final go-around as a Trojan. And just from me personally, just talking here, I do not expect Tuli to come back for another season. I think he's proven everything that he has, that he can prove. Led the nation in sacks, 20-plus tackles for a loss, Defensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12, Polynesian Player of the Year. He lost a lot of those major national awards to a generational talent in Will Anderson at Alabama. So, that's just a tough year to have a really great season against Will Anderson. But I think Tuli has shown enough to go off to the NFL. Right now I think he's projected around a second-round pick. Can he do enough coming back for a full year, maybe risk being injured? So I think right now his stock is at an all-time high, and I think, when it comes to NFL stock and stuff like that, you have to go when you're at your highs. You never know what's going to happen next year. Maybe he only has 5 sacks next year. Maybe he gets injured. So I think right now you got to strike when the iron's hot, and I do not expect him to come back, but, he'll make that decision after the bowl game. But big news in itself that Tuli Tuipulotu is gearing up to play in this Cotton Bowl. For
sure. So we got a lot of information about guys. It looks like they're going to play. We don't know. There could potentially still be some opt-outs, guys coming back and all that. We'll kind of keep you up to date. This is the first time we got to talk to these guys really since the Pac-12 championship game in Las Vegas. So we didn't get a lot of information there. So got a little bit more. No Lincoln Riley today. No Alex Grinch. We'll see. We still don't know what the media availability will be for the rest of next week. And they fly out on December 27th to go to Dallas. So Chris and I will both be there. We'll get you all the information from what's going on there. But any other last thoughts before we wrap this one up, Chris?
I just want to share the quick story. You mentioned the pizza with Justin Dedich. They went to Joe's Pizza, he said 5 times because Andrew Voorhees kept wanting to go back to pizza. And then Justin Dedich was like, Andrew, I'm done. I can't. I'm pizzaed out. So I just wanted to throw that little story in there. Andrew Voorhees loves his Big Joe's Pizza, apparently.
Apparently, yeah, there's some really good pizza in New York. So, but that's great. Everyone had a good time with that. The bowl prep is just starting for Tulane. I think everyone that we've talked to, it sounded like they were excited. It's not something they were overlooking. Austin Jones was asked about it. He said it's a New Year's Six bowl. This is something they're going to take seriously. So make sure you check out USCfootball.com for lots more. For Chris Trevino, I'm Ryan Abraham. See you next time.